Welcome to M1 Racing and our coverage of the G-Force Racing League. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening wherever you are. Welcome to M1 Racing and our live coverage of the G-Force Racing League. If you're joining us for the first time, you're very, very welcome and we hope you enjoy the next hour or so with us today. My name is Mark and I'll be your host for the next hour or so. And today's a day of firsts, the first race of the G-Force Racing League, a pre-season race no less. No points up for grabs for our drivers today, but an opportunity for them to get to know each other at close quarters on the track. And it's also the first ever M1 Racing stream on Twitch. So we'll be working things out here in the commentary box, both from a driver's perspective and also with the technology. So bear with us if we get a few things wrong along the way. I'm sure we'll get things improved as we go through the season. Now, it can get a little lonely in the commentary box, so if you want to keep me company, please do so using the chat. It will be great to hear from you. You'll need to follow me on Twitch, and then you should be able to use the chat box. Ask questions as we go along, and I'm helped out today by my good friend Pete, who's sitting behind the scenes here. He's going to be monitoring the chat and also looking out for what might be happening on the track that we might be missing. You can help us with that. If you see a battle developing that we're not covering, let me know and we'll take a look. And eventually I'm going to ask you for who your driver of the day is, but more on that much later. So we're going to be looking out for drivers now just leaving the pits for their first flying laps, and we'll see what we can find. So Dangerous Dave, Bagiosaurus and Alex1 are first out to set some lap times. I also see SS7 going out on a set of medium tyres. I expect to get a bit of a banker lap in first of all. And as we've landed on Dangerous Dave for the first time, I think we'll ride on board with him as we take our first flying lap around the circuit here in Spain. Spain, 4.6 kilometres long, 14 corners and 2 DRS zones, one just here as Dangerous Dave comes round in to turn into turn 12 here, trying to get a good exit as we ride on board through 13 down to 14, slight lift on the power, DRS open, down the main straight. Braking hard into turn 1, accelerating out, looking to stay close to that curb as he comes around the long sweeping turn 3. Braking around 50 metres, letting the car run up the hill around turn 4. Braking again, tricky corner, turn 5. You want to get on the power as early as possible, run out wide onto that curb, but not too far. And then in through turns 7 and 8, or running over those yellow sausage curbs. Bottoming out the car is going to take a few tenths off the lap time here. DRS open down the back straight. Hugging the inside, running out just onto the edge of the green tarmac there. Hugging the corner of 12 once more. Looking to potentially get a bit of a slipstream from the car in front. Over the corner of 13, and Dangerous Dave decided to abort that lap, probably due to running over that sausage curb there in turn 7. Mr. Han is 16 with the early lead here in qualifying with a 1 minute 12 .133. Congratulations to him. And Danny in second spot at the moment with a 1:12.287. SS7 with an early lap on their medium tyres, 1 minute 12.397. So not a bad start on those mediums, and at least that's a banker for later on, should there be some issues out on track. Dangerous Dave, as we saw, 1:12.737. Alex 1 with a 1:13.03. Bagiosaurus 1:14.767, and Ace Pilot on a 1:15.329. Sender, Domo Pearson, AM still yet to set a lap. We see Sender on an outlap here, so let's follow Sender around and see what they can do on their first lap. Again, looking for a good exit. And let's follow Sender around on their first flying lap. Tricky track to get right, Barcelona, with long straights but also long sweeping corners. Got to get that balance of downforce absolutely right. Took corners 1 and 2 pretty well there, Sender. So we drift out wide on turn 3. Carry as much speed as we can up the hill into turn 4, a little bit wide of the apex. It gets on the power nice and early. Braking into 5. Run out wide onto the curb. Seemed like a bit of wheel spin on the way out. Into turns 7 and 8, trying to avoid those yellow sausage curbs, and then flat out through 9. DRS open. Braking into turn 10 there, just running out wide. Back end wanting to give way. Round 12. Accelerating out as wide as you dare. Coming in, a bit too much curb perhaps there, unsettles the car. And down the main straight for an opening time of 1 minute 12.358 for Sender, putting them in third spot currently. So we'll head down to SS7. Did a good lap first out on a set of medium tyres on a 1 minute 12.397. Looking to improve now on a brand new set of soft tyres. And you'll see how many of these drivers like to stick close to this inside of 3, and those that want to drift out wide. Braking into 4 up the hill. And then into 5. Accelerating out. We're driving by the car in front, keeping out of the way of SS7 as they come through this lap. Avoiding those sausage curbs, and now we go flat through turn 9. Not seeing drivers run out wide onto that curb on the left of 9. Braking into 10. Through 11 and then 12. And SS7 is purple in sector 2, so this could be a very good lap time. Through 13, flat through 14, over the line, For the fastest lap so far, congratulations SS7 of 1 minute 11.349. Puts them top of the leaderboard at this particular point in time. We see Alex 1 now on their hot lap, and let's follow them around from a different perspective. Out there on a new set of soft tyres through sector 3, straddling that curb as they come through 13, round 14, and Alex LX1 sets a time of 1 minute 11.837, puts them half a second behind SS7, who's in first place, and about 3 tenths up on Mr. Hannes, who is also out on their hot lap right now, or just about to start. And we pick up Mr. Hannes now as they come down the main straight, DRS wide open, hoping those cars in front either give them a nice tow and get out of the way quickly. As we go through turn 3, flat out round here, trying to bring as much speed around turn 3 as they possibly can, braking into 4. Looks to be 1.5 seconds up at the moment. Sorry, one. I apologise. 1.5 tenths up. Through sector 2, there's a car very much out of the way, actually on the grass, so at least that's safe out there. Through sector 2. The track is starting to get an awful lot busier now, with time starting to run out in qualifying. We're about halfway through the 15 minutes of the session here, so it's going to get a bit busy for our drivers to navigate some of this traffic. Mr. Hannes 16 will be hoping that that doesn't compromise him, and he may get a decent tow from his teammate down the straight here. And Mr. Hannes crosses the line for 1:11.872. They stay in third place, but only 500s behind, 4 500s behind Alex 1 in second, and SS7 still leading the way with a 1:11.349. So Domo Pierce the first. Apologies for the scrolling up and down there, folks. Domo Pierce the only driver yet to set a time, but they are on their hot lap now, hoping that Ferrari in front of them will get out the way pretty quickly. Although that may be AM73685 who may also be on a hot lap, so no, they get out of the way, and actually gave probably quite a nice tow to Domo there. Round 12 into 13, flat out, as we're looking to carry as much speed as we can into the final corner and onto the straight, and Domo Pierce crosses the line with a 1:12.893, puts them into 9th spot on the starting grid at this particular point in time. So if you're new to league racing on F1, you may not know that each league will have its own set of rules when it comes to the race and to qualifying, and the G-Force Racing League is no exception to that. So in this particular league, the owners decided to have a single qualifying session of 15 minutes before we go into the race. So we're not like the real world where we have Q1, Q2 and Q3. We just have the one qualifying session, and the drivers during that period of time will have a selection of tyres they can use to go and do as many laps as they can in the time allowed to try and get their fastest lap. But they have to keep in mind that any tyres that they use during qualifying are also going to affect what they have available to them in the race itself. So you'll see some drivers perhaps going out quite a few times, using up as many tyres as they have available to them. Obviously the newer the tyre, the grippier they will be, the faster times they potentially will set, and others will reserve some of those, particularly those valuable soft tyres, for the race itself. So it'll be some interesting use of tyres here, and that's perhaps why we saw some of the early runners going out on perhaps a set of mediums just to get used to the track and get their eye in on the circuit. Now it looks like Dangerous Dave has back into the pits, who's missed his lap there, but a 1:12.279 for Dangerous Dave. As we can see, Bagosaurus and Danny, that's an unfortunate time to come to Bagosaurus as they take a look at the hoardings around the edge of the track here in Spain. Yeah, so Bagosaurus had done 4 laps on these soft tyres, so I suspect just getting used to the track before they go for perhaps a 1-lap dash towards the end of qualifying here. And we've just got the 3 minutes left of qualifying to go, so I think it's about to get quite busy on track as some of those other drivers currently sat in the pit look to set a lap time. They'll probably be thinking about 2 minutes to get out, and then enough time to hit the start-finish line for their qualifying lap before the checker flag comes down. So all they need to do is cross that line before that checker flag comes out for their time to count. And we've got Ace Pilot coming in there. They're probably going to find it a bit tough to get out again in the available time. We will see. And now as we see El Alex, Mr. Hannes and Dangerous Dave and Danny all out on their out laps, looking to see if they can beat that time of SS7 with a 1:11.349. Now I'm hearing from the drivers that weather forecast for today is dry and sunny, so we shouldn't have to worry about rain, so I think that will keep the strategy calls relatively straightforward for the teams here today. So El Alex goes over the line. Let's ride on board with them on their final qualifying lap around this fantastic track in Spain. Slightly out on the AstroTurf there, but managed to hold it, and that is definitely beyond track limits. And I suspect he may give up on that, but perhaps reserve his battery and go again in a few more moments. So we'll go down to Mr. Hannes, who is well underway on their hot lap, and see how they're going to do against SS7's time. Braking into turn 10, swinging it round, squirt on the throttle into 12. Slightly wide, apex on down, and the back end steps out, and unfortunately I think that may be the time gone indeed. Perhaps pushing a bit too hard, but worth a try, and into the pits we go. Let's head down to Dangerous Dave. Potentially might get a bit of a slipstream from the car in front. DRS open, that car in front's got nicely out of the way. We brake into 10. Then letting the car drift out. Careful on the throttle, back end wants to step out. Hugging that curb on the inside as early on the throttle as he can to get as much speed into turns 13 and then into 14. Will he lift? Yeah, just slightly. And then we've got a nice entry onto the start-finish straight for a 1:12.099. The Dangerous Dave doesn't improve on his position. It certainly shaved off a little bit of time there. So it looks as though SS7 has called it a day. We'll see if and El Alex, I seem to be picking the wrong time to go some of these drivers as they unfortunately leave the circuit. Right, Domo Pierce here looking to improve on that 1:12.893. From my timing screen, doesn't look to be improving, but we will see. As we come around 12 into 13 over that curb on the inside, and yeah, indeed, Domo has decided that he's not going to beat that 1:12. And maybe we can just get AM 73685 here. as we come round turn 14 to finish our lap with a 112.203, puts them in 7th spot on the grid. And that looks to be, yeah, Danny appears to be going still, but I suspect not improving their time before, indeed not. So a little bit of extra practice for some of the drivers there on those final laps, and that concludes qualifying. So SS7 will be on pole position. Congratulations to them. L Alex 1 in 2nd spot on the front row, alongside the Mercedes with a 111.837. Mr. Hannes and Ferrari on a 111.872 in 3rd, with Emile Eke 04 with a 112.063. A Dangerous Dave with a 112.099. Matt Brown with a 112.160. AM with a 112.666. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong timing screen, so apologies. I'll pick up from Dangerous Dave with 112.099, Sender 98 with 112.160, AM with a 112.203, Danny with 112.287, Domo Pierce in 9th, Bagiosaurus in 10th, and Ace Pilot at the back of the grid there on with a 115.005. So we'll be waiting for the drivers to line up on the grid very shortly. There is no formation lap in this particular league, so we will go racing as soon as you see the lights go red and go out. And we have a 50% race today with the G-Force Racing League, so that's 33 laps of this 4.6 kilometre circuit in Barcelona in Spain. Now, a reminder, there are no points up for grabs for our drivers in the race today. It is just a way for the league to get settled, for the drivers to get to know each other a little bit more, and for us to get to see them racing around this fantastic Spanish circuit. But we will have proper racing here, so there is pride at stake for these drivers. So I think we can expect to see some pretty significant action, most definitely into turn 1 at the start of this race, with all 11 drivers, I think it is, ploughing into that first corner on cold tyres and cold brakes, with many hoping that those behind those are working. So we'll be keeping our fingers crossed that all the cars get through turn 1 and 2 unscathed. The chance of safety cars, I would say, normally around here is not necessarily particularly high, but given the nature of that this is a brand new league and drivers who don't yet know each other, who knows? All right, so the lights are coming on. All right, folks, let's go racing. SS7 looks to have a bit of wheel spin there. L Alex 1 seemed to have a decent start coming down on the outside. The Emilike with the McLaren in 3rd. Now, is L Alex 1 going to come down? No, SS7 has held the outside and then the inside of 2 as they come round and turn 3. We'll stay focused on the inside, but the McLaren on the inside seems to have a very decent run on El Alex. Are they going to hold on to the inside here? They are, but El Alex will potentially have a better run, but settles it in behind the McLaren. They are still going side by side here as SS7 has a pretty decent start here. So Mileke has managed to get in front of El Alex off the line. Dangerous Dave following on closely behind him 4th, and Danny behind them. Then a 1 second gap opened up for Bagiosaurus before we get to Domo Pierce following them in 7th. So a great start by SS7. It hasn't quite pulled out of DRS yet, so DRS is not yet active. They will need to be a second ahead, but they'll be hoping to make use of those soft tyres and get away as quickly as they can. But it's all happening behind with a row of 4 cars incredibly closely bunched up. Emileke certainly stole a bit of a start there, but El Alex 1 is looking to try and has actually gone down the inside into turn 1, and we'll be looking to hold on to that as the McLaren looks to be swallowed up here by both the Haas and potentially the Red Bull, as the Red Bull looks to go down the inside. So after a pretty decent start from Emile Eke 04, they unfortunately got swallowed up after that move by Alex. And Domo Pierce has just got ahead of Bagiosaurus, and we'll be looking to close down that gap to Danny in front of them. But let's return to the front here, because although SS7 seems to have checked out already, nearly 2 seconds in front, this battle between these four is raging. Now Earl Alex is looking to try and pull away here again, trying to get out of that DRS zone, while these other three behind, Dangerous Dave, Emile Eke 04 and Danny, are squabbling over 3rd, 4th and 5th place here. Unfortunately, it looks like Ace Pilot has picked up a penalty. That could be most likely for track limits. We'll check that later on. As they come down into turn 1, and Danny in front of Emile Eke. So again, after a fantastic start from Emile Eke, starting to slip back a little bit. I wonder if they picked up perhaps some damage somewhere along the line. Let's just check on tyres. And there's our answer, folks. So Emile Eke going out on the hard tyres obviously won't have as much grip as the cars in front of them. And let's see, Danny has spun on, I think, between turns 7 and 8 there, where they caught the curb, which is so dangerous, so high around there. That can happen very easily. So we'll be interested to see how Emile Eke and their hard tyre strategy plays out. But I think if they can stay in contention with El Alex 1 and Dangerous Dave in front, they may be one to look for. Perhaps starting to drop back and the race settling in a little bit now for these front runners. Now SS7 definitely had to scamper off into the distance on those soft tyres. It will be interesting to see how long they last before they'll need to come in to change those over. They certainly won't last as long as our medium runners here. And unfortunately, we've got a DNF for AM 73685. Obviously, sadly, we didn't see what happened there, and maybe they might be pleased about that. If there are any issues, the FAA might have to take a look at those later on, but we won't prejudge anything. Shame to see them leave quite so early in the race, but clearly had a bit of an issue. So this battle at the front with these three continues to rage. Emile Eke has dropped back a bit on those hard tyres, but understandably so. I apologise. That's Domo Pierce. No, I apologise. Domo Pierce back there in 5th, I saw in the background. So Emile Eke is actually making strides forward now up into 3rd place. So maybe those hard tyres starting to get switched on. And El Alex there with DRS now activated, looking to get past as they do into the braking zone for turn 1. Emile Eke not looking to fight that. May well follow it around. So we see Ace Pilot coming out on hard tyres, hopefully staying well out of the way of the cars that are lapping them. So we see SS7 out there in front, 2.5 seconds, but on those soft tyres. Dangerous Dave now over a 1 second gap to El Alex 1, and Emile Eke behind in 4th on those hard tyres. The field starting to spread out a bit with Domo Pierce in 5th, and then 4.5 seconds back to Bagiosaurus in the AlphaTauri, with Sender nearly going right in the back there. I wonder if Sender just slowed down too much, or I overcooked that, I'm not quite sure. Ace Pilot, you'll see, is 43 seconds behind, but has just pitted for hard tyres and potentially some damage. So we'll see if they can close up that difference of 42 seconds after everyone has been to their pit stops. A reminder, every driver needs to make at least one pit stop during the race to change compound of tyres. They cannot finish on the same tyres that they started on, so they will have to pit at least once. And I envisage, that was probably an ambitious move there from Sender. clipped the curb and then drifted into Bagiosaurus. And we can see this battle between LLX1 and Emileke is not giving up. I'm not sure what that might be doing to those hard tyres following so closely, but clearly Emileke has pace here today. And we'll be interested to see what they do if they go onto the medium tyre, perhaps at the pit stop. They could perhaps make that change a little earlier, or they might go a little bit longer on these hards because they seem to be working quite well for them, and then go onto the softs at the end. I think safety cars might influence that if we end up having them. I know safety cars are set to reduced in this particular league, so we can keep racing as much as we possibly can. As Emileke comes up behind with DRS, looks like that DRS just didn't open that time, but there you go, into turn one and back up into third place. So those hard tyres definitely working well. I'm just watching the gap between SS7 and Dangerous Dave. That seems to be hovering around about the 2.7 second mark. So SS7's perhaps used those soft tyres quite well at the beginning, but they will be starting to go off. And we can see the McLaren of Domo Pierce now starting to look to join this party with LLX and Emileke's at 04. So we could have two McLarens sandwiching a Williams here. Bagiosaurus clearly having dropped back a little bit, perhaps picked up some damage from that coming together with Sender 98. Interesting strategy from Danny, who appears to have gone on to intermediate tyres, perhaps as a forecast he is getting from his pit crew we don't have here. But if it doesn't rain, I think that might well slow them down quite significantly. Well, and do you know what? It does appear to be raining. Unless that's my monitor, I do appear to see some spots of rain. I believe the intent was for this race to be set as dry for the whole race, but perhaps the owner forgot to press the setting, or they looked to mix things up. So perhaps Danny has made a genius move. We will see if that actually plays out, but it did look like there were spots of rain very briefly. And Sender 98 has now closed back up on Bagiosaurus, just half a second behind. Yeah, and we definitely have, I think we definitely have rain, folks. So this really is going to mix things up, particularly as I don't think the drivers were expecting it. So unless they had checked the forecast beforehand, we certainly weren't here in the commentary box. So yeah, as we can see, Bagiosaurus losing some grip there. So interesting that, yeah, we're starting to see drivers come in to, I expect, get on those intermediate tyres as quickly as they possibly can. As you saw Emileke there braking heavily before the pit entry, they do not want to be speeding in this pit lane. They will get an automatic 5-second penalty. As you see, all of them largely going on to intermediate tyres. Sender 98 staying out on those mediums. That's going to get tricky as this track gets wetter and wetter. That level of grip will disappear very, very swiftly. And I reckon Dangerous Dave will be on Sender 98 as quick as a flash. So SS7 retains the lead. They have now pitted onto those intermediate tyres. Sender 98, 2.5 seconds or so behind, but increasing more and more. And as we see, Race Control have disabled DRS, recognising the rain coming down and the potential dangers that may present. So as we suspected, Dangerous Dave, I think, will be on the back of Sender 98 incredibly swiftly now. And as we go down the back straight here, should be a very easy pass. It doesn't look as though Sender's going to fight it, although they do. And Well, well done to both of those. It's keeping within track limits and no contact, it would seem there. The Sender 98 clearly struggling with grip now, and I expect them to head into the pits. As we see Sender 98 just peeling off there. So El Alex 1 moves back up into third place. Domo Pierce now in fifth. Emil Eke, sadly with a penalty now, in sixth. Danny in seventh. Bagisaurus in eighth, and Mr. Hannes 16. And we have two DNFs, so Ace Pilot for Williams and AM 73685 for Ferrari. Still 9 runners going here. Let's just check how much of a penalty Emil Eke has picked up. A 3-second penalty, so most likely for track limits at some point in this race earlier. So we now know they're all on intermediate tyres, and every driver has done one stop. Certainly the biggest gainer at this point is Domo Pierce, so up 5 places into 4th spot and driving well, it would seem. It looks to be closing that gap to a certain degree down to El Alex 1. Dangerous Dave up 3 places now into 2nd place behind SS7. Danny moving up, and also Bagisaurus. Mr. Hannes has appeared to have a bit of a tough race so far, but is still circulating. So Emil Eke coming up on behind their teammate here, probably will need to get past and get well ahead in order to negate the impact of that 3-second penalty they currently have. Let's follow on with Emil Eke here as we follow their teammate. We can see that light blinking. That would normally indicate in a dry race that the driver has run out of ERS, the battery charge. But when we're on intermediate tyres or it's a wet race, that's more a safety feature to alert, to help the other cars see each other. You can see how slippery it is as they go through these tighter corners. Has to avoid hitting their teammate there. That's one thing the McLaren team will not want, is taking each other out on this important pre-season race. We go up through turns 6 and 7. Now having to lift through turn 9. And it looks as though Domo Pierce has allowed them past, probably recognising they were perhaps slightly faster at this point in the race, and Domo Pierce dropping back behind. If we go back up to El Alex 1, 2.2 seconds behind Dangerous Dave. Yeah. And my co-pilot here, Pete, has rightly spotted that Dangerous Dave seems to have dropped back quite a bit from SS7, now an 8-second gap. So I'm not sure if Dangerous Dave has perhaps had a moment at a certain point around the lap, or SS7 is had a particularly good couple of laps. But certainly quite a significant gap between SS7 and Dangerous Dave now. El Alex 1 not really closing that gap there, so perhaps it was just an off moment for Dangerous Dave. Emil Eke has now pulled away from Domo Pierce by over a second. And Danny 9 seconds back in 6th, Sender 98. Let's go down to Sender there. In close proximity to their teammate Danny. Be interesting to see if one or other gets out of the way, or whether or not we're going to have some racing between the Red Bulls here. And Bagisaurus 9.5 seconds back in 8th spot. So we're on lap 13 here. Sadly we have 3 DNFs, Mr. Hannes 16 joining that particular party, but good to see Mr. Hannes, Ace Pilot and AM making it out on the track for this pre-season. The rain doesn't look to be getting too much harder, and it doesn't look to be any major standing water at this particular point in time, so those intermediate tyres may well be okay to continue. As we see Sender 98 coming up behind their teammate Danny, and passing into turn 1. Danny not fighting that as we go through turns 1 and 2 on this now slightly slippery track. Domo Pierce picking up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, most likely track limits. And if you're not familiar with the game, those track limits are the white lines that you see on the edge of the track. If you get all 4 wheels over those and certain points of the track, the stewards will call you out. You get 2 warnings, and the third occasion you will get a 3-second penalty added to your time at the end of the race. So Emile Eke 04 and Domo Pierce both with 3-second time penalties. So Emile Eke is probably feeling a little bit safer now in that fourth spot from their teammate Domo Pierce, but it's going to have to work quite hard to close down on El Alex 1. So Alex 1 is definitely closing up down to 2 seconds now, and we'll watch Dangerous Dave as they go through turn 3 here. Risky to get on the curb on a wet race, trusting enough in his car and his driving ability as we break into turn 4 up the hill, gradually easing on the throttle in these wetter conditions. Braking again into turn 5, and gentle on the acceleration on those curves and those white lines. Those rear wheels can spin up pretty quickly, and still maintaining a reasonable gap to El Alex 1 behind. SS7 has most definitely checked out in front, 10 seconds ahead as we come towards the midpoint of this Spanish pre-season race on the G-Force Racing League. And if you'd like to take part in the G-Force Racing League, there are still a handful of driver seats still available. I think there's only 3 or 4 now. So if you'd like to be on the grid for the first race proper of the G-Force Racing League, you can do that by heading over to Discord. The link to the G-Force Racing League is on my Twitch channel, and sign up as a driver for one of those remaining spots, and you could be featured on our race next week, which will come from Bahrain, the first of 12 races in the first G-Force Racing League season, and 12 weeks later we will close the season just before Christmas in Abu Dhabi. So if you'd like to be part of this league, please head over to Discord, sign up, and the owner will be in touch, and hopefully if you get in there quick enough, you can take up one of those remaining seats, and it will be great to see you out on the track in Bahrain next Wednesday. So M1 Racing is planning to cover all the G-Force Racing events live Wednesdays 8 PM UK time. So if you'd like to join us, please follow our channel here on Twitch, and you'll be alerted to every single live feed that we have, and we'll be posting full replays of all of these races after each session. And maybe if racing isn't a thing for you, but you'd like to be involved, maybe you'd like to join us here in the commentary box, please feel free to hit me up at Subtle as a Fox on Discord. You can find me and my link on the Twitch channel. Feel free to hit me up, and we'll see if we can get you on the stream. You can join me and Pete as we watch along with the G-Force Racing League over the next 12 races. The race has definitely settled down a little bit now, with those gaps spreading out between the various different cars. El Alex has unfortunately not been able to capitalise on whatever issue Dangerous Dave had earlier, and sits just under 3 seconds behind. Emile Eke is perhaps closing them down to about 2.2 seconds, so there could be a battle for third and fourth here, but of course Emile Eke, with that 3-second penalty, is going to need to get a move on if they want to get past them. Yeah, and Sender 98 also closing that gap to Domo Pierce, and I think Domo Pierce may well be struggling on these intermediate tyres. That gap coming down quite significantly. So let's head down to see how Domo Pierce and Sender 98 get on when they come together. Now, the forecast that I'm seeing on my live timing screen suggests that maybe that rain may be drying up. So as we reach halfway here, just over halfway in this race, there's a possibility that a dry line might start to appear. So there could be a sudden rush into the pits for some slick tyres, and I wonder who's going to be brave enough to do that. But certainly Sender 98 doing a pretty decent job, as is Emile Eke, closing down the gaps to the cars in front of them. And perhaps Emile Eke smells a potential podium here, so he's looking to put El Alex 1 under a bit of pressure. Certainly the Red Bulls separated now by just over 6 seconds. So and Bagiosaurus circulating in 8th spot with about 24.5 seconds behind Danny in 8th spot. But this is what we will find with an open league. So anyone can sign up to drive for the G-Force Racing League as long as they drive well in a neat, tidy and clean way. They will be very welcome in the G-Force Racing League, and as a result we will have some high quality drivers with a lot of experience and some drivers with not quite so much experience to draw upon and perhaps still getting used to the game. But we welcome all of those. I know the owner is very keen to stress that, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing those less experienced drivers gradually improve over the races of the season. And seeing how far they can move up the standings week on week. So if you're a bit apprehensive about joining and you see some of the high standard of racing here from some of the drivers and you think, would you fit in, please do sign up and come along and commit to the league for the next 12 races, and you will certainly improve, I'm sure, week on week. So Sender here really closing down. It's an Emile Eke also for that third place. So it really is a dilemma to who do we watch, Sender 98 or Emile Eke. If you're in the chat and you want to let me know where you'd prefer to go, let me know. We're going to stick with Sender 98, the Red Bull on the McLaren, just for a moment, as it's super tight as we go through turn. And Sender 98 has also picked up a 3-second penalty, so everything for Domo Pierce to play for here, and they might well defend with their life here. Sender 98, as I commentators curse, as soon as I say that, Sender 98 sends it up the inside of turn 10, great overtake, and moves up into 5th place. Doesn't look as though Domo Pierce has perhaps the tyres left to fight that back, as Sender 98 looks to extend their lead. Let's head back up now to Emile Eke as they look to chase down El Alex. They've closed that gap to under half a second now, up through turn 3. Very tight battle. Now, Emile Eke does have this 3-second penalty, but if they can put El Alex under a bit of pressure, maybe they can force them to make a mistake and perhaps pick up their own penalties along the way. There's still plenty of time left in this race. We're on lap 19 of 33, so there's everything to play for. I see Dangerous Dave has closed the gap on SS7 to 9 seconds now, so that could just be SS7 backing up a little bit, trying to save those intermediate tyres, or perhaps Dangerous Dave has found a bit of pace. They've certainly pulled away from El Alex 1, so Emile Eke putting El Alex 1 under quite a significant amount of pressure here. Hasn't been able to make that pay in terms of a pass just yet, but it's certainly very, very close to them. As we go through turn 13, and Petey's telling me, yeah, it definitely looks as though it has stopped raining. So this track in Spain is going to dry up incredibly quickly as you see the drivers go out onto the wetter line to cool down those intermediate tyres, give themselves a little bit more grip. That rubber on those intermediate tyres will go off very, very quickly in these drier conditions. As Emile is almost sat on on El Alex's gearbox as they try and go around the outside potentially into turn 4. Maybe they've got the cutback on their mind here as they come out of turn 4. Will they make a braking move down to 5? No, very sensibly look to try and get a good exit from 5, down into 6 here, but super close. Maybe they're thinking they will try down the back straight here as they come out of 9. Looking to get a good exit here. Maybe try and get on the ERS as quickly as they can. As Emile Eke sits on the outside of El Alex, trying to go around the outside of turn 10. Oh, they've got back wheel on the green tarmac or AstroTurf there. Didn't have the grip they wanted, but it's just incredibly tight. Great driving by both cars. DRS is now enabled, so this is going to give Emile Eke a great chance as El Alex 1 comes into the pits clearly to change tyres. I think, yes, actually we see that all of the leaders here pitting. So perhaps Emile Eke should have perhaps followed El Alex 1 in there, but we'll be looking to try and take advantage, if it's still a little bit slippery, to try and push forward and close some of that gap to Dangerous Dave in front of them. It will really depend how quickly those slick tyres click in on this drying track. So SS7 switched over to the medium tyres now. This will be I expect their last stop, barring any more rain or any incidents along the way. They'll be looking to take those medium tyres to the end, and really only about 12 laps that they'll need to do on those medium tyres, so they should be fine. Dangerous Dave is also Dangerous Dave onto the hard tyres for this last part of the race. So we'll be looking to get some temperature into those hard tyres pretty quickly, which on this still slightly damp circuit may be a bit of a challenge, but it will certainly give them more grip towards the end of the race when perhaps the mediums might be looking to give up. El Alex 1 has switched on to the soft tyres, so we can see various different strategies playing out here. Now, what we should look for is the gap between Dangerous Dave and El Alex 1 to hopefully come down a bit. Certainly from El Alex 1's perspective, they'll be looking to make the most of that extra grip they'll have, certainly in these early laps on those soft tyres, to try and close down that gap to Dangerous Dave. It's currently just under 5.5 seconds, so looking to close that down. Emile Eke currently in the pits, understandably now, like the other drivers up front, switching on to those slick tyres. And and Emile Eke actually comes out in front, so I think they may have made a pretty smart move there. They've managed to retain a position in the race, or actually overtake, because I think El Alex 1 was still just ahead as they drove into the pit. So actually that strategy for Emile Eke has worked out, so they'll be looking to get away. But El Alex 1 is on those soft tyres, Emile Eke 04 on those medium tyres, so those soft tyres should have a lot more grip. And we have a yellow flag in sector 1, which is Tomo Pierce. They are still going, so they've made their way back onto track. I do hope they have not picked up in any damage. Nothing obvious that I can see at the moment. Front wing looks to be intact, so hopefully not too much damage done, but I suspect that's them coming out on those new slick tyres, touching a wetter part of the track there, and then heading off into the scenery. So El Alex 1, we go back to this battle down here, is right up behind Emile Eke, but has not been able to make those soft tyres pay off at this particular point. So Emile Eke looking strong, but they do have that time penalty, which I believe is still at 3 seconds. So they will need to be getting away from El Alex 1 by more than 3 seconds before the end of this race to retain that position. We're on lap 23 here of the first G-Force Racing League race here from Barcelona in Spain, and 10 laps left to go. If we just look at the position changes now as we come through this part of the race. Again, it's evened out a little bit more, but Dangerous Dave definitely the winner here so far. Just behind SS7 in first place. Dangerous Dave up 3 places into second place in the Haas. Emile Eke in the McLaren up one overall into third, and then El Alex One in fourth, having dropped 2 places since the start of the race. All the other drivers making ground on their starting positions. A reminder of where we are with the tyres for each of them. You can see everyone has stopped twice now. Obviously wants to go onto those inters when the rain came down, and then now to change onto slick tyres. And then from a tyre perspective, everyone having stopped recently, but a real mixture of strategies to take us to the end of this race. And Emile Eke starting to eat into that gap to Dangerous Dave. And El Alex One having dropped back a little bit now from Emile Eke out of that DRS zone. So those soft tyres not really working out for them. It was a great idea, but sadly on this particular track today it hasn't quite worked out. But they'll be hoping that Emile Eke does not get more than 3 seconds ahead. So all to play for still for El Alex One. They could still finish up on the podium here. Dangerous Dave on those hard tyres still going reasonably well, but we're now down to just about 4 seconds to Emile Eke. So they'll be hoping to try and keep those medium tyres working well with about 8 laps or so to make up that gap. Now, why don't we take a look at some of the other drivers we haven't been able to spend much time with today. So we've got Danny here in 6th place, 7 laps in to this third stint on medium tyres, 10.8 seconds behind Sender 98, their teammate. Domo Pierce here, 4 laps in on their hard tyres and 14.5 seconds back from Danny. They'll be cheering on their teammate Emile Eke 04 in third spot right now, looking to pick up some points. And Bagiosaurus here continuing to circulate in 8th position, so congratulations to them, and just 30.8 seconds off, but sadly picking up another 3-second time penalty, again I suspect for track limits, as Dangerous Dave overtakes or laps Bagiosaurus there. But the owner has recognised the kind of mix of ability levels in the league, and they've introduced a great point system. It's not one of their own ideas. I know they've borrowed this from another league. But in the main feature races each week, every driver will get points from first all the way down to 20th position, as long as they finish the race. So, recognising that not everyone is going to be at the same level, and it will take time for some of the less experienced drivers to build up their knowledge of the game and the tracks and the cars, it still gives everyone an incentive to turn up each week to bank points both for them and for their team. And those points will add up across the whole season to potentially some significant points. So there's an incentive for all our drivers to turn up each week. It's not just the first 10 or 12 places that will get points. It is the whole grid, as long as they finish the race, and subject, of course, to any penalties issued by the FIA after the race. Looks to have been pretty clean racing here today, with perhaps 1 or 2 incidents that perhaps we'll hear about post-race. But all the drivers here doing a great job of keeping on the track. And the fastest lap there for Emile Eke 04 with a 1:14.677. Definitely working well on those medium tyres, and nearly balled out a 3-second gap on El Alex One. So that 3-second penalty is becoming less and less of an issue for him. Indeed, we've just tripped over to a 3-second gap now. So Emile Eke looking to hold on to that third place quite strongly at this particular point, with what are we on, lap 27 of 33, so only 6 laps left of this race to go. And Emile Eke closing down that gap now to Dangerous Dave, 3.7 seconds. So we could have a battle on our hand for second place. And those medium tyres working incredibly well. SS7 still maintaining the best part of a 10-second gap over Dangerous Dave in second place. So we haven't really spent much time with SS7 in this race because he just checked out off into the distance. But it's driven a great race today so far. But Emile Eke here looking to close down that gap to Dangerous Dave, and it is coming down all the time. Although Bagiosaurus here going wide, which will leave them to their trials and tribulations, and we'll return to them later. But congratulations to them for continuing to keep going. But we will focus on Emile Eke, who is quickly becoming my driver of the day here. I know he has they have a penalty, but I think the way they've managed this race so far has been pretty spectacular. So we will see how they do in these closing 5 laps. Danny picking up a 3-second penalty for track limits as we focus on Emile Eke closing up on Dangerous Dave. That gap 3.6 seconds. Now they're just looking at timing screens here. The last lap time for Dangerous Dave, 1:14.806. Emile Eke with a 1:14.508. So made up 3/10 on that last lap. They probably need to close that down an awful lot more quickly if they really want to take that second spot, particularly with that 3-second penalty. Alex 1 looks pretty sound and safe in place 4 here, not really under pressure at all from Sender, but looks unlikely to be catching Emile Eke 04 at this particular point. And perhaps Emile Eke's charge has run a bit short at this particular point and seems to be stabilising at 3.5 seconds the gap, but was a really great charge there, looking to potentially be putting Dangerous Dave under a bit of pressure. But sadly it looks as though we may not have that battle that was materialising, and maybe those hard tyres for Dangerous Dave just giving them that consistent pace that they were after to see them through to the end of the race. So let's take a look at SS7, which we really haven't spent much time with at all. They've driven what looks like a masterful race so far, pretty much the lead from the very first lap, and they've maintained that all the way through the race. So just a very sound drive from SS7 so far. Dangerous Dave has got that gap down to 9.5 seconds. I'm sure SS7's medium tyres will probably be starting to feel the pressure a little bit at this point in time, but with only 3 or so laps left to go of this particular race, they don't really look under pressure. But sometimes for a driver that can be the worst part of the race, where it perhaps feels particularly comfortable, but that the concentration goes, and you quickly make a mistake, get a wheel on the grass, and before you know it, you're facing the wrong way. And I do speak from experience. So SS7 leading the way on lap 30, 9 laps in on their medium tyres, but now 9.5 seconds ahead of Dangerous Dave. Dangerous Dave here has driven a pretty solid race too. Quickly made a decision to go onto those hard tyres, and they're seeing them through pretty well here on lap 30, probably towards the end of the race, and may well be allow them to fend off any remaining charge from Emile Eke 04 in third spot. Emile Eke 04 having still the fastest lap of the race, a 1:14.508. And Alex 1 here in fourth place with 10 laps in on those soft tyres, which they may well be struggling on a little bit at this particular point in time as the grip gradually subsides on those Red Bull tyres. Certainly no rain forecast now for the rest of the race. I think that was a surprise to everyone that rain came down midway through the race, but it certainly mixed things up a bit for our runners here. So but they all handled it incredibly well, and certainly gave us quite some fantastic racing in the process. So Emile Eke has got that gap to Dangerous Dave down to under 3 seconds now, but we are on lap 32 of 33, so they will have to go some to really make a dent. They may take second place on the road, but that 3-second penalty is sadly going to hurt them, so it looks as though third place is nailed on for Emile Eke for the rest of this race. And I do apologise to any of the drivers here if I am mispronouncing their usernames in any way, shape or form. Please feel free to inform me on Discord afterwards how I should pronounce it if I've got anything wrong, and I'll be happy to correct it for next week's race. So as we come up to the very last lap of this pre-season race for the G-Force Racing League, we will follow SS7 round on the final lap. So SS7, who happens to be the owner of the G-Force Racing League, certainly laying down a marker for all other challengers. I don't think they are going to have it their own way this season. We don't have a full grid today, and we know there are some other quality drivers waiting in the wings to come in and join the party. Very much hope we will have a full grid next week in Bahrain. But SS7 laying down a very solid marker for everyone else to chase after. No points for SS7 today, but certainly some bragging rights as they prepare for next week's race. A reminder, next week is in Bahrain. We will be live here on M1 Racing from 8 PM UK time. If you've enjoyed the coverage today, thank you ever so much for sticking with us. So we will get better at doing this over the coming weeks. But if you would like to come and join us here in the commentary box at some point and lend your voice as well to mine, you would be most welcome. Even if you'd like to be in the background, perhaps doing some moderation, we'd also like to hear from you. And congratulations to SS7 as they cross the line as our winner of the G-Force Racing League pre-season race. And Dangerous Dave behind on second place. Emile Eke, great charge through the pack there and closing down Dangerous Dave, but third place for them today. El Alexwani in fourth place, congratulations to them. Sender 98 coming round those final corners in fifth place for Red Bull. Congratulations Sender 98. Danny, again his teammate coming round the final corner to cross the line in sixth place for Red Bull, a 5 and 6 for Red Bull today. Domo Pierce in the McLaren coming around, just approaching turn 12 here in the second McLaren. Would be some good points for McLaren today. A third and seventh spot for them, so well done to Domo Pierce. And we see Bagosaurus coming round to finish us off in 8th place. So congratulations to all of the drivers today for fantastic racing, great introduction to the G-Force Racing League. And a reminder, if you want to take one of those last remaining spots, those last remaining seats in the G-Force Racing League, use the Discord link on my Twitch channel, head over there, contact SS7 and he will sign you up to one of those last remaining spots. We would love to have a full grid of drivers for our first race proper in Bahrain next week. Congratulations to SS7 and Mercedes for the first win of the season. Sadly no points from today, but I'm sure they'll be after those all important points starting in Bahrain next week. So our final classification, SS7 in first place, Dangerous Dave in second, Emil Eke third, L Alex 1 in fourth, Sender 98 in fifth, Danny in sixth, Domo Pierce in seventh, Bagiosaurus in eighth, and our DNFs, Mr. Hannes 16, Ace Pilot and AM 73685. My thanks to all of the drivers today. Also congratulations to Emil Eke with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:14.508. Well, we want to thank you on behalf of myself, Mark and Pete in the commentary box here for being with us on M1 Racing. We really hope you've enjoyed today, and we will see you next time on M1 Racing.